Greetings, Eric Backer, naturopath from New Zealand, author of Candida Crusher. I'm going to do another case for you today. Case history number 19 this is, and 56-year-old lady was seriously bad vaginal thrush for many years. I'm going to read a bit out of my book and then talk a bit about Anne. Anne is an accountant who came to me complaining of having vaginal thrush forever. She mentioned that she first noticed this most annoying problem when she was in her mid-20s after she came back from England to New Zealand to live and work. About 10 years ago, she started to develop constipation, and this later turned into irritable bowel syndrome about 6 years ago. She's had 2 marriages, and her second marriage was about to come to an end. Anne has led a very stressful life. Her first husband committed suicide when she was in her mid-30s, leaving her with 2 young children. Her son found it very difficult going and didn't adapt to his stepfather coming into his life, which caused additional stress. Anne went through a period of several years of financial hardship with her second husband, who turned out to be less than supportive. This lady is particularly sensitive and had to rely on sleeping tablets and regular headache medications as well. As soon as I realized that she was adrenally exhausted and in fact was severely affected, as she's had to juggle 2 jobs, raise her children literally by herself and cope with the pressures of dysfunctional relationship. She took it very hard when her mother died 2 years ago and has not resolved her grief entirely. Anne's diet has become very restricted since her doctor diagnosed irritable bowel syndrome, and she's noticed that many of the even most commonly consumed foods were now causing digestive problems, making it very challenging for her to enjoy eating out or even socializing with friends. That's when she decided to visit me. The condition she most wants to conquer, however, is the annoying thrush, but feels that nothing can be done because her case is hopeless and her doctor has long given up. I worked with Anne for several months and initially treated her adrenal exhaustion and at the same time placed her on the Candida Crusher program. I asked Anne to do a salivary cortisol test that revealed a very low morning cortisol, indicative of severe adrenal exhaustion. She also had elevated DHEA. So I find people with very high cortisol and very high DHEA can have this. And in some stages they can have very depleted cortisol and very elevated DHEA levels. A stool test revealed she had yeast in all 3 stool samples, from samples taken on 3 concurrent days. After following my 2-stage thrush elimination protocol in my book, it took 4 months to get rid of the thrush, but it's now gone entirely several months, post that. As her adrenal energy improved, I noticed some remarkable changes in Anne. She finally plucked up the courage to leave her second husband and now is happily living alone with her daughter and her 2 cats. Slowly but surely, Anne began to tolerate an increasing amount of foods that she'd been unable to eat for many years. She started to gain weight and looks much healthier today than she did several years ago. Her weight hit rock bottom at 84 pounds, but now she's 120 pounds and she's 5'7". These are the chronic cases that are discarded by practitioners or simply placed in the too hard basket. It is much easier to spend 5 or 10 minutes with a patient and shuffle their drugs or supplements around when they return for follow-up than it is to deal with the causes of their chronic health problems. Such chronic patients end up more and more unwell as the yeast infection and adrenal fatigue slowly but surely spiral out of control as the years roll by. What started out as a feeling of occasionally being unwell eventually gets to the stage where the person's occupation and livelihood are threatened and their lifestyle becomes more and more compromised. By the time they come to see me, they rely on government sickness handouts and are stone broke after years of trying to get their health right. In my experience, if the patient does not improve, the whole case needs to be re-evaluated and the root causes finally addressed. If you dig deep enough, you'll find a yeast or bacterial overgrowth in their digestive tract along with patterns of adrenal dysfunction of many years. Can you relate to this lady? Have you got chronic vaginal thrush or been seriously sick for a long time and you're sick to death of going to all these doctors and naturopaths? You're sick to death of spending all this damn money on supplements? You're sick to death of doing all these tests and you can't get well? Maybe you need to get a mirror and place it in front of you and have a long hard look at yourself to see what the heck is going on. Maybe you're not listening to people. Maybe you're not listening to yourself. There could be something going on in your life right now, that's affecting you. But I'll bet you that one of the big things that's underpinning this problem will be stress or emotional grief of some sort. All right? Am I right? Often I am. Well, my wife likes to think that I'm not right often, but I like to think I am with a lot of these chronic cases. So that's where we tend to sort of have issues over time. No, it's not this. And I say, well, it's probably that. But stress is often at the root cause of many kinds of these patterns where people can't break out of these dysfunctions like Anne. Look at Anne's background. Relationships that have gone wrong, grief, unresolved grief. Many times there'll be these little things that you take for granted and don't see them as having any link in why you can't recover. You spend too much time focused on these stupid diets, you spend too much time focused on supplements, but you're not thinking about, fixing up the underlying endocrine or hormonal dysfunction like thyroid or adrenal problems. These things need fixing up if you want to get well. I had 3 cases from the US today, 2 vaginal thrush cases, and in both those cases the ladies had thyroid dysfunction. Incredible. And the thyroid dysfunction was caused because of the poor adrenal function. So in both these cases, we're going to work on building the adrenal health up. We're going to work on improving the gut function and work symptomatically on the vaginal treatment with my 2-stage kill and build treatment. Both of these ladies were placed on my CanXida product. That's CanXida, CanXida antifungal. They both completed the online quiz, which came back as severe in both cases. You'll find that quiz if you go to candidacrusher.com. It's a fantastic quiz. And both of these ladies have read Chapter 5 from Candida Crusher and understood that. In both these cases, we're going to get a full resolution within about 6 months. Now, one lady has had her yeast infection for 7.5 years. 7.5 years! It ruined one of her relationships, and she said her second relationship's struggling because her husband's being very sympathetic, but it's ruined their sex life. So, listen up. If you've got vaginal thrush and you want to get rid of it, you can get rid of it. Check out my book, Chapter 5, Candida Crusher, do my quiz, and consider the CanXida dietary supplement. It's worked now for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people. It's working exceptionally well for a lot of cases. So I hope you got a bit of insight into overcoming chronic vaginal thrush from Anne's case. Thank you for tuning in.